Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes of your day, the Ask Domnat Show. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Dominique Pereira, aka Ask Domnat. Now, the graphics should be here somewhere, guys. Ask Domnat. Let's put pressure on my producer. My name is Dominique Pereira, aka Ask Domnat. The graphics going to come up anytime now. But ultimately, what is this show about? It is about business, finance, lifestyle, and most importantly, the questions you guys have for me that I can ask based on my experience. On today's show, we're going to be going through a rundown of today's show, the news you need to know to make you a smarter and better person. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're live at 8 a.m., and we're going to be starting off with some news today. Tesla faces suspension. Interesting news out of California for Tesla. I know a lot of Tesla shareholders on here on the internet, kind of keeping a close eye on that. Surprisingly interesting what that did to the stock. Trump bans state AI laws. It actually plays into the Tesla, in my opinion. Both news articles play into it. Now, the questions, it wouldn't be an Ask Domnat show if you didn't get a chance to ask me questions. And one of the questions comes from one of our viewers about REITs and my opinions on REITs. And lastly, to finish out the show, I'm just going to give you some updates on what's going on with me and everything that is in the Ask Dom universe. So let's get right into it. Tesla. What do you know Tesla for? What do you know Tesla for? Tesla, you know them for electric cars. You know them for Elon Musk. You know them for innovation. But what's next? Self-driving. Self-driving is where Tesla wants to get to. And they want to be fully autonomous. They want to have robo-cars, ride-hailing cars. And California is saying, hey, pump the brakes on how you're describing your company as a self-driving car company and marketing the self-driving features of your company because you're not there. And California has given Tesla 60 days to adapt to regulations around their marketing of their self-driving features, of their self-driving promotions. And there's a lot of pressure on Tesla to tell people, hey, don't worry about that little political stint Elon Musk had. Look, we have self-driving cars now. And guess what? It's not just Tesla. If you've been to Austin, Texas in the last 3-4 months, last year, you'd say, wow, this city looks different. There's something different about it. Some might even say weird. It's the cars don't have people in it. Waymo is zipping around with self-driving cars. Tesla has a lot of pressure. Tesla's headquartered in Austin now. They can't let another autonomous vehicle beat them. Out of California, cars driving by them is just so normal now. So Tesla wants to say, hey, everybody who has a Tesla will eventually have the ability to, while you're not using your car in the driveway, why doesn't it go Uber for you? Sounds like an amazing idea. I don't hate the idea. I actually like the idea. Kind of weird. Don't know if I would allow people in my car without me being in there, but we all get used to it. You know, I would have said that 10 years ago about my house, but now guess what? Airbnb. So what happens when Tesla is making these promises and California is saying, hey, you might be misrepresenting all of these features. You might be misrepresenting how you're describing the marketing material. So it's not the craziest thing. A judge ordered Tesla to alter. They have 60 days to change how they're describing their features, or they will be suspended, barred, stopped from selling Teslas in California for 30 days. California is their biggest market. It's like 10% of all of their sales globally. In California, there is no Tesla without California. Point blank period. It is the sole lifeline to Tesla at the moment, especially with all the problems that they're having overseas. So Tesla, ultimately their stock, what happened with their stock? This is how you know economics isn't purely numbers. It's purely, because their stock is up at an all-time high. Their stock rallied. They're doing better now. Today, Tesla, I'm seeing here that they're trading at 487.79 cents. I'm looking at the year to date. They're up 25% year to date. Over the last week, they're up 9%. So this news has not rattled investors at all. They're like, you know what? Tesla is such an incredible part of our economy. They're too big to fail. I don't think that California would do it. And regardless of the issues that Elon might have had with the White House and Washington, I think that 47 would have to step in. At least that's what investors are thinking, because they're saying there's no way. This is just kind of smoke with no fire. This is regulators imposing things on Tesla that really they don't have the guts or the will or the stomach to actually go follow through it. And regulation leads into the next news topic of the day, which is really important: AI regulation. Donald Trump signs a executive order. It's a vague executive order that is limiting states' regulation on AI laws, essentially. It's a preemptive move telling states, hey, AI is the future. AI is coming. You cannot just create any AI laws that you want to regulate AI because of this executive order. And if your state does do this, we will punish you at a federal level, meaning withholding federal funding in a lot of ways. What are my thoughts on it? Thank you for asking, Dom. I like it. I am not a regulator person. So the good thing about this one is, and I'll give credit where credit is due, it's going back to Tesla. Guess what? They're having issues with state regulators in California. Tesla has more than enough money to have lawyers for California, lawyers for Nevada, lawyers for Texas, lawyers for whatever. But if you're a small startup, we have a startup. I have a startup. We have AI products that we're trying to build. Even if it's a bubble, jump in this bubble. If you are in entrepreneurship and technology, make sure that it doesn't matter if the bubble pops or not, as long as you are in it. Don't over leverage. Don't be stupid. But the little things that you and I do in the AI space and the .com boom back in the day, it won't move the needle like what OpenAI and Microsoft and Anthropic and Google are doing. So we're just trying to carve out our little niche. And having less regulation is good for me, because that's what I can't create. I'll create a product. I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, folks. I'll create a product in my office that I think is a really good product. But I don't know the laws out of Tennessee. I don't know the laws out of Wisconsin. There's a law in Nevada that I don't have a lawyer to check out. It stifles growth. Now, what this law, what this executive order does carve out is say, hey, if you are a state agency, if you're a state, you guys can regulate how your agencies and how your departments use AI. Feel free to do that. And we're not even regulating you. We're not stopping you from regulating very specific, poignant things about how you put laws to regulate AI, because there is going to be AI regulation that comes out of the state level, but it can't be overall broad, swooping regulations that will hinder growth and competitiveness, which I like. As a technology entrepreneur, thank you. Finally, it honestly, it doesn't do anything for me right now, but it stops from something bad on the other side happening, where now you got to spend more legal dollars to make sure you understand something. Regulations are typically reactive, right? Like regulations are, oh, we had this oil spill where there is a where there are ducts. So now the state is going to put out laws about how much oil you can carry in that area. so that doesn't happen again. That's fine, right? Like there's goods and bads to that. But then there's downstream effects to that, because that area, then, well, maybe now there's a whole oil company that had nothing to do with that's being punished. They had nothing to do with the negativity and the corporate greed of some of the bigger companies. And when you're the small guy, you're like, why are you treating me like a big corporation? It's me and three of my buddies that decided to do this tech company. We don't have the reach like some of these big companies. So regulation can be very stifling. It depends, the wrong type of regulation. And our competitors overseas, they're not being regulated to this degree. So what we want to do is make sure that we're creating products in an open and competitive market. Let the chips fall where they may. But what we don't want is people to start now just putting out random, hurtful, harmful products. So this executive action, this executive order, still allows states to regulate when it comes to child endangerment, right? Like if you're creating an app that has something to do with kids, you need to make sure that you're protecting the welfare of kids. This violence and certain things, there's a carve out. A carve out means that it's like, hey, this is the rule, but this section is not affected. This is still protected. So there's carve out for that. So the states have a carve out. If you're a state agency, you have a carve out. Kids carve out. There's like Tennessee, for example, has an AI. It's called the Elvis Law. The Elvis Law allows, or it helps musicians protect against AI artificial music using their voice and their likeness to make music that sound like them, but they never get paid. Somebody else overseas owns it, or in Canada or in Wisconsin, whatever. No. If you're clearly trying to mimic this artist and his music and his songs or her likeness using AI, that's banned. Right, look into the Elvis Law out of Tennessee if you're a musician. So some stuff like that might be very good and positive, right? Who knows? So that's keep up with it. If you are in the AI space, make sure you're following. That's the news you need to know for Friday, December 19th. Let's keep up with just everything that's coming on in the economy. Let's see what this weekend brings. But I am excited for the new year. We're going to be talking about what my outlook is for the new year moving forward. We still have a couple of days left. We have a lot of projects going on. And before we get into those projects, let's go into the user question from my guy, longtime friend of the show, longtime friend of Dominique Pereira. This is Nelson Gutierrez, longtime friend. I always appreciate his support. We talk sporadically, and sometimes it just gets into some great conversation. I'm sharing this because I thought it was such a great question. I want some exposure to S-REITs on my portfolio. What's your opinion on them? When I saw this, I thought to myself, what a great question. First and foremost, what are S-REITs? And what's my thoughts on them? Those are the two questions that we need to answer here for everybody who's interested. I'm a real estate investor. I invest in buying and rehabbing and holding and renting out real estate properties. That is one way to invest in real estate. Another way to invest in real estate is by buying REITs, real estate index trusts. Yes. Real estate, the S tripped me up. So what that is there's companies, there's just like on the stock market where you're buying stocks, you can buy these companies, stock tickers, and in Nelson's case, he was asking about S-REITs, so that there's a company, there's the Starwood REIT, the Starwood, which is a huge real estate company, conglomerate, they're huge. That part of their Starwood fleet were like the W Hotel, the Windsor, a lot. They are a big company. And they invest in buying property, but they take your money from investors. So you buy a percentage, you buy their REIT price, They take that, they pull it together, and then they buy the property, they maintain it, they manage it, and then they pay you. They pay you out. What the benefit to that is that it's a passive investment. You're not like me getting phone calls from the tenants about their toilets and now figuring out how to fill this unit, or just, all sorts of issues. But you also don't get the larger payouts, right? Like you're less exposed. You're not leveraging. You're not taking advantage of all the leverage that you can get out of real estate. So REITs are essentially, look at them as stocks for real estate backed companies. And now to clarify a couple things, what Nelson asked specifically with S-REITs, which, like I said, after talking to him, he was mentioning Starwood Real Estate Index Trust. But S-REITs, when you're talking to sophisticated investors, that could also be that's the official signal for the Singapore. That's the Singapore Real Estate Index Trust. So those are real estate companies out of Singapore, right? So they're kind of used interchangeably. Well, not interchangeably, but they're exclusive to each other, right? Like, so you got to know which one you're talking about. You think you're about to buy some condos in Miami and blah, blah, blah. And then you end up in whatever the capital, Manila, the capital of Singapore. I don't know. But so make sure you know that. But for this purpose, we're going to be talking about American REITs. So on an American REIT, Starwood, there's two types of REITs that you need to know. There's a publicly traded REIT and a private REIT. The Starwood S-REIT is a private REIT. You can't just go on Robinhood and buy it. You can't. You need to have a broker. You need to be an accredited investor. You need to know somebody. They need to be able to accept your money. It's not public. There's a lot. There's a couple Blackstone. There's other private REITs that you need to be allowed to invest, and it comes with more regulation, not more regulations, more restrictions in a lot of ways. Sometimes you can't take your money out just when you need it. It's not liquid as liquid as if you buy it on a public REIT, which we'll talk about. There's more restrictions. You need to be a more sophisticated investor to know what you're getting into. You can invest in a specific city or state or building with some companies and buying a REIT. So you can get more granular on how your investment works. But you also need more money. There's a lot of times a capital requirement, right? And you guys own that building together. It's sometimes a smaller pool. Most of the time it's a smaller pool of investors. If something's going wrong with that building, it might be a cash call. They might say, hey, look, market's not good. Or this tenant left in disarray, everything, the capital expenses to get the building back in order is going to be more expensive. If it was like, a commercial building that was a store before or a mall, it can be very tough if it's on a private side. On a public REIT, now going back to Starwood, they do have a public REIT. It's STWD is their ticker sign, STWD. Let's bring that up. STWD, if you have a brokerage account, you will be able to just go on whatever the minimum buy for STWD is. Not sure what there it goes. Starwood Property Trust. Starwood Property Trust right now, let's go with a 1 year view. One year view. Go up for me. They're down a little bit, right? And using Yahoo Finance here, but it looks like they're down 3% here in 1 year, but 3.81%. But if you scroll down, that's what they do pay. It's like, well, down. So what's the point of buying it? Well, they pay the 10% dividend right there. You see that 10.41% dividend. Get them off. So whatever you invest, if things keep going right, they're giving you 10% of your dividends, or 10% dividends on your investment. Not a bad thing. Now, my personal thought on something like that is that if you are under 40 years old, remember this show is not investment advice. So what I tell you right now, don't go and blindly do it. But if you're under 40 years old, 10%, and if you don't have a lot of money, if you don't have a million, I mean, if you have $1 million sitting on the side, right, don't put it all in one trust or one REIT. But if you have $1 million and you're making 10% on it, then all right, you're living off of $100-something thousand a year. Not bad. You might not think that's enough if you are used to having $1 million. But if you're under 40, if you're under 35, if you're under 35, if you're under 30, a lot of people that follow the show are under 30. You have 20,000 saved, maybe 30,000. Yeah, 50,000 saved, right? Well, 10% a year, and that's a high dividend. 10% is $5,000 on the high end. And how much? What's that really going to do for you? Nothing. So what I say is, a REIT is just a hedge against inflation a lot of times, because what happens? There's a couple big REITs. I think Realty Investment, bring up stock ticker O. I think it's Realty Investment Trust. I forgot the name, but stock ticker O. They're one of the biggest REITs out there. What they do is they have millions, hundreds of millions. I think at this point it's in a couple, like 1.5 billion square feet. Realty Income Corporation, 1 point. So if you look at their last year, what 1 year here, they're up 7%. That's amazing from an investment standpoint. And then if you go down, they're paying you 5% dividends. That's a very well performing REIT. So this is good, because if you have the money, get them off. If you have the money and you say, hey, how do I just park this money? How do I park this money? Interest rates are high. I don't want to go buy a property because then my mortgage is all high. So yeah, let me park this $50,000 and get 7% over the year, right? Like, and then I also get 5%. So it's a total, you're getting, 12% return on it, kind of there. Check my math, but that's not bad, because you're just parking your money, but you're not getting rich. It's gonna be over the long time. When the opportunity comes to really get rich, you need to buy a property, use that money to put in a property, because you're not getting, if you follow the Ask.net course and method and everything that I share and teach for free most of the time, you will then make multiples of your money. It's not percentages. It's not how can I make 12%. It's how can I make triple my money. I invested 50. After 1 year, I'm coming out of there with 150. Now, I have $100,000 extra that I never had last year. Now let me try that again. Now, those results might vary. You might next year make 50, make 40. You always got to make money. Success only goes one direction, folks. It's not like, make money then lose money, make money lose money. No, rule number one of investing: don't lose money. So with the REIT, it's good to park your money if you have a high-paying job. If you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, if you're whatever, you have a good job and you don't want to worry about where to invest your money. A REIT is a good way to get into real estate, into exposure. I think the good thing about the REIT is it makes you start looking at real estate news. Start seeing, okay, how's the economy doing with regards to real estate? How's the market? Blah, blah, blah. It keeps you primed for that. And then, but ultimately, you're going to have to step out and buy your properties or syndicate deals and go into, managing a portfolio of properties and becoming the portfolio manager and blah, blah, blah. Different conversation for a different day. But now, a couple things to know about REITs. Don't want to get too off on a tangent. It's a couple things. Those dividends that come out, a lot of those dividends are going to be considered as common dividends REITs. So what you will see is that you're going to get that money, and it's going to be considered regular income tax for a lot of them. especially the high-paying dividend REITs. So if you are somebody that's making a significant amount of money, when you get those dividend payouts, if your strategy is particularly dividend passive income, you might be taxed at your highest marginal tax bracket. So it takes away some of the tax incentives for investing in real estate. So you got to be careful with that. But the good thing to know about REITs is that most REITs are forced, they are obliged to pay 90% of their net operating income or their profits back to their shareholders. So if a company says, hey, look, let's bring up VICI. These guys own casinos all throughout the world. They are in the entertainment space of REITs, right? Like you can't buy casino property with the money that you have, but you can buy a piece of a casino and entertainment REIT. They probably have adult fun centers and blah, blah, blah. All right, let's see what they did in this year. So they are they are a REIT that, let's see what they're down. What is this? 2.8%. So your money isn't growing and appreciating. That's just following inflation. You lost money, but their dividend payout is 6%. So your money isn't growing, even though they're one of the largest entertainment hedged REITs out there. Because guess what? When you have a casino, no matter what the economy is doing, you still have to pay your rent. You still have to pay it. So, but the casino, the reason I brought that one up is going back to expenses. It's expensive to rehab these places. And when they're empty, when somebody decides, hey, it's hard to find a new tenant. Right? And then all of a sudden, the way the REIT set up is that because they have to pay 90% of their operating income, or gross net profits to the investors, they don't always have a lot of cash on hand to reinvest in growing the brand and the business. So that's my thoughts on the REITs. They're an okay hedge, specifically if you have a high-paying job. If you're a nurse, my sister's a nurse. Good for her. She makes a good amount of money. I should have been a nurse, but now look at me. I'm here on YouTube with y'all. Thank you, by the way. But if you have a lot of money and you're like, man, you know what? I don't know what to do with this. And you already bought some of your stocks, you already bought your ETFs, your index funds, a REIT is a good way to just diversify your portfolio. But if you don't have a lot of money, I wouldn't even think about REITs. It's just not, the returns aren't going to be that great. I would think about buying your first 4-family home. Go into 4-family homes. That's what I recommend getting into real estate. So that is the question from Nelson Gutierrez. I love that. I grew up speaking Spanish, so sometimes it's good to go back to that. So more of my Spanish followers send me questions so I can, like somebody from like a really amazing region with an amazing name that I can just be like, I don't know, Maldonado. I love that. So what is up with, now this is the part of the show we're coming up on time, so I appreciate you joining me. What is up with Dominique Pereira? Why are you seeing me on your feed now? Like, hey, Dom, I thought I saw you with some goats before and some sheep. Yes, I am a serial entrepreneur. It is a gift and a curse. I love what I do. I have a job. I have a business. I have a team. I have a dream. I have a vision. And a lot of times those things don't always fall into a box. People want to put you in a box. You do this. You're an engineer. So what? I like riding tractors. I like riding a McLaren on Monday and a tractor on Friday. Am I wrong? I don't really like riding a McLaren on Monday. I just want to be in my studio and do videos with y'all. So what is up with Dominique Pereira? Well, what I am trying to do is this show to make sure that you guys see everything that I have going on, because I get so many questions and I am an open book. The only thing that I feel bad about is sometimes I don't want to bother y'all. And sometimes I feel bad that it's like I'm discombobulated. I'm everywhere. This is the show. This is the farm. This is the app. So I think this is the best place to catch me and and listen to everything that I got going on. because everything is moving and rolling. We're not perfect. I'm learning. I got 4 or 5 balls in the air. I know I did 10 there, but I got 4 or 5 balls in the air, and the world is going to try to convince you that that's bad. Yes, I may be able to make more money by focusing on one thing. Yes, absolutely. But it's boring. I love what I do. And I don't do it for the money. I do it for you. And that is our show today, guys. The Ask Dom Net Show. I'll see you guys on Monday at 8 a.m. Thank you. Ask your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. See you guys on Monday, 8 a.m. The Ask Dom Net Show.